everyone. Hope all of you are doing good. Let's take up our Samachar Manthan Week 40 test discussion. Politicians and economists have a love-hate relationship. They cannot do without each other. In context of this, examine the issues with policy making in India and why the role of the domain expert is important in policy making today. Now you need to understand the main keyword here. So this is basically, the context has already been provided in your answer. This is not a major sentence to be focused upon. This just basically forms the premise of the question. Now in context of this, examine the issues. This examine is our keyword. Examine the issues with policy making in India and why the role of, why is another directive word, why the role of domain expert is important in policy making today. This domain expert is our major keyword and be examined by these are our directive words. So let's get into the structure part. So first, in the introduction, you can talk about broader politics, broader way of policy making and economics, etc. And this is a generic introduction which is given, but in the to boost your introduction, instead of writing a generic introduction as has been given in your modern answer, you can add value by giving the context of farm bills, withdrawal of farm bills, or withdrawal of land acquisition bill. These withdrawals of these particular bills, they show the poor policy making and the poor connect between politicians and economists. So this is basically the context behind this particular question, and this does the job of value addition to your answer. Now, after talking about this particular, so this is basically policy backsliding. You can use such keywords to add further value to your answer. Now let's come to the body part. In the body, you need to examine the issues. So talk about issues with policy making in India. This is your main heading under the body. Under this, again, you will be providing subheadings like fragmentation in thinking and action, overlap between policy making and implementation, then lack of non-governmental inputs and informed debate, then lack of systematic analysis and integration prior to policy making. So basically, provide these subheadings and then elaborate them accordingly in order to aptly examine these issues. So simply do not just write points, provide appropriate subheadings first and then provide the description as is the basic template of your answer. After this, you need to talk about the role of domain expert in your question. So what is the role of domain experts? So herein you can talk about the fact that policy making is an art which invokes science when expedient, and it can be these particular issues which we talked about in the previous part of our answer. These can be successfully dealt if experts are involved in policy making. So since they bring in along with them expertise, and herein you can provide the successful case of try. So because of the inclusion of domain experts, TRI has successfully emerged as an organization, so as a body. So this highlights the important role of domain experts. Now TRI also floated the draft net neutrality draft into public domain, which further led to discussion of the issue of net neutrality amongst the wider public, and that allowed the policy makers to gauge the overall sentiment of the population. And that's why this successful case has been talked about here, that first they have this domain expertise, and then they also proceed with the particular bills and drafts with appropriate discussions, etc. So this is important in policy making. You can talk about this, and after that you can mention a concluding remark in your question. That lessons from the last century tells us that domain expertise should not be wasted and is conspicuous by its absence in regulatory and policy institutions. And now basically a cadre of professionals can be formed with technical expertise for complex task of managing policy, especially in niche areas like telecom, environment, etc. So in niche areas of policy making, we need to bring in the expertise of domain experts, and this is also being talked about the current government right now. So that's how you can conclude your answer.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civil's Daily.